morning, good afternoon, good evening. Zimbabwe is a failed state. And at the heart of it all is our failure to hold free, fair, and credible elections. For 46 years and counting. That is a long time. And I think this should really focus our minds. We cannot afford this carry on. We must put an end to this madness of rigged elections and bad governance. Because it is us, more than anybody else, who has paid dearly for it. I know the minute you start talking of rigged elections, those MDC-C supporters would immediately say, you must talk about Zanu PF. I am talking about Zanu PF. Zanu PF has been the one that was rigging those elections and getting away with it. But what I'm also talking about is how the MDC-C leaders have failed the nation. MDC was formed in 1999. That's 26 years ago. And the primary reason, the primary task set for that party was that they should bring about the required democratic changes to end the Zanu PF dictatorship. They even called their party the Movement for Democratic Change. 26 years down the line, Zanu PF continues to blatantly rig the elections and get away with it. You have to ask yourself, why? Yes, we can talk about Zanu PF, but let's also talk about the opposition that people have risked so much to elect into power to end the dictatorship. Why have they failed? Letting Chamisa once again lie and con millions of Zimbabweans to participate in 2028 elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate this dictatorship because we have failed to educate our people that Chamisa is a liar. To me, that is the cardinal sin that we, the people of Zimbabwe, no thinking Zimbabwean out there, should allow themselves to commit. MDC-C leaders had the opportunity to implement the democratic reforms during the GNU of 2008 to 2013. They failed to implement even one token reform because Mugabe bribed them. And ever since the GNU debacle, they've participated in flawed elections, conning people with lies that they've devised ways of winning rigged elections. And so the people can participate even if not even one token reform has been implemented. And the people have fallen for it. One of the burning issues I've been wrestling with on this platform the last 3 years is people accepting that Chamisa lied to them when he said he had plugged vote rigging loopholes. It was an idiotic lie. There's no other word for it. Because all the evidence was there for anyone who wanted to see that nothing had been done to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. You cannot have free, fair, and credible elections when you don't even have something as basic as a verified voters roll. And yet that is exactly what Chamisa told the people. When, at the end of the 2023 elections, the elected CCC leaders, some of them found themselves being recalled within a few days of taking oath in the parliament or council. And the gentleman involved was Tshabangu. At the time, Chamisa told the nation that he didn't even know who Tshabangu is. Here is Douglas Monzora, a former colleague of Chamisa, speaking on the issue of Tshabangu, who Tshabangu is.
It is not true that Tshabangu came from nowhere. Of course, I've met Tshabangu. I met Tshabangu before and after he became leader of the opposition. I met Tshabangu at the ZCTU when he was one of my students in a program called the Paralegal. Right, I think it was in 1992 or somewhere there. He was a member of the Hotel and Catering Workers Union. And I then met him at the formation of the MDC. He was there. He became our chairperson, MDC chairperson for Mat North Province. He then went away with Biti in, I think, 2014. They went away after the Mandela Rebellion, so he was in the PDP. And when Advocate Chamisa called them back in Gweru, at the Gweru Congress, he called Tendai Biti, he called Tshabangu back, and he joined them. And I do know that Tshabangu did sign for the CCC candidates in the by-election in 2022. And then, of course, what happened in their party happened in their party.
How did you know that he signed for them in 2022? There was CCC and MDC.
You don't know that when you are contesting in an election, during the nomination court, you are allowed to inspect the papers of the other candidates. In other words, what you do before the sitting of the nomination court, you actually are allowed to request the file to see whether your opponent is validly nominated or not. And if he is not validly nominated, you are allowed to raise the objection before the nomination court and he may be disqualified. I actually did that once in Masvingo. I was the election agent for Mayor Chayamiti, the late Mayor Chayamiti. And I inspected the documents of the other candidate, Mr. Shumba. And I noticed that there was no O-level certificate that was attached to the papers. And at that time, the law said, for you to be executive mayor, you must have an O-level certificate. And it was not.
Okay, I'm sorry we have lost the sound there. But the point is, Tshabangu was a senior member of CCC. He was so senior that he was even signing the nomination papers of the of some of the Triple C candidates. So for Chamisa then to turn around and say he doesn't know him only confirms something we already know, that Chamisa is a liar. I know that some people have struggled with accepting that reality. But as a nation, we cannot afford that kind of personality cult mentality that refuses to accept truth, reality, and historic facts, particularly when the consequences of that failure are perpetuating a dictatorship. Chamisa is returned back into active politics for the sole purpose of sorry about that. Chamisa has returned to active politics for the sole purpose of conning people to participate in flawed 2028 elections. He knows that not even one token reform was implemented, and yet he will con people to participate in those flawed elections. So that we have a repeat of what happened in 2018, 2023, and I think we owe it to ourselves to make sure that that does not happen. There are those who believe in Chamisa to the level where he has become to them a demigod who can do no wrong. It is, of course, an outrage that in this day and age, anyone can think that a mere mortal can be a demigod. Much more so, a mortal that has the track record of people like Chamisa. The nation has paid dearly for the failure to accept that Chamisa is corrupt, incompetent, a liar, and a conman. We really can ill afford to let this madness continue for another day. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.